Hi, in this video I'm going to show you the purl stitch. This is generally the second kind of stitch and really the second building block on which all of knitting is based that new students learn. The fabric that I have right here is showing what happens when you knit every row. See the knit stitch video also shows you how to do an easy cast on. So when you add the purl stitch to your knitting arsenal, I'm going to go ahead and knit one more row and across. When you add the purl stitch, you can create the fabric that's called stockinette stitch. This is what a lot of finer commercial knits are done in. It's it's smooth on one side, and then on the back it has bumps that look rather like the garter stitch bumps. So again, that's called stockinette stitch. Let me switch to American style. When you hold the yarn in your right hand, one name for that is American or throw knitting. To purl, you're going to insert the right needle tip from right to left in the front of the stitch on your left needle, wrap it around, and pull the loop back towards the back. Then take the stitch off the left needle. From right to front, wrap it around, the loop comes through, off the left needle. Oops, now it came off first, that's okay. I just have to make sure to complete the stitch by pulling that loop through the loop that was on my left needle. Wrap around, pull it through and off. It helps also if you keep your left index finger at the top positioned at the top of your needle, then that stitch will not slide off as you're working the new stitch. And you go all the way across to the end of your needle to complete the row. Okay. As I said before, the knit and the purl stitch are the two basic building blocks to all of knitting, and there are all kinds of different combinations. Look around online, get a great knitting book at your local yarn store, and investigate what all the different things are that you can do. I'm going to do one more row so you can really see the difference here before, and this is now continental knitting. Holding the yarn in my left hand. This is how I normally knit. Not how I learned, but how I knit now. So see how this fabric up here, the stockinette stitch, is smooth? The garter stitch is bumpy. If you flip it over to the other side, the stockinette stitch at the top almost looks like the garter stitch, but it's a little bit flatter and the rows are pulled together a little tighter. So in this video, you learned how to do the purl stitch. Ready to rock! Today I'm going to show you how to do the purl stitch. This is the second stitch that a new student is going to learn to create the basic building blocks for all of knitting. My first video showed the knit stitch and how to do a basic cast on. The fabric down here at the bottom of this little swatch, it's very ridgy. This is called the garter stitch, and to get this fabric, you knit every row. Right up here next to the needle is, once you've learned how to do the purl stitch, you can knit a row and then purl a row, creating stockinette stitch. This fabric is kind of typical of what you would see in commercial knits and what most people think of as knitting. And that is knit on the right side and purled on the wrong side. And you can see stockinette looks rather like garter stitch. If you were right here, you'd see and be able to feel that it's a little thinner, a little smoother fabric than garter stitch. All right, so to get started with the purl stitch, you are, first of all, you put your right needle from right to left in the front of the stitch. Your working yarn must be at the front. in order to be able to work a purl stitch without creating an extra stitch. You wrap it around, pull the loop through towards the back, and then slide the stitch that was on your left needle off. Now just to illustrate, with the purl stitch you have your yarn in the front. With the knit stitch, it's in the back. And I want to show you something. If you do, so I did a knit there. And the knit looks like a little V, and the purl has a purl bump, or a turtleneck, sometimes we'll refer to it, to be able to differentiate. I just took off that last stitch to show you. If I have my yarn in the back and I do a purl, I mentioned before you get an extra stitch. Do you see how you have this little looping over of the needle? That's one way that a new knitter can get an added stitch that they really didn't want. So just remember, for the knit stitch, you keep your yarn towards the back, and the purl stitch, you keep your yarn towards the front. So here we'll go again. Inserted the right needle tip from right to left, wrap the yarn, pull the loop through towards the back, and take the old stitch off. Insert the right needle tip from right to left, wrap, pull it through, and off. Insert the right needle tip, wrap, pull it through and off, and all the way across the row. So the purl is bumpy on the side that you're working on, but you'll see when we get to the end of the row, I'm going to show you the other side of the fabric, which will be smooth. See that? So this is the opposite side that you worked the purl on. And if you see this, if you're working stockinette and you see this as the next row that you need to knit, you can tell by the smoothness and the V's that this is the row that you knit on. When you turn the work, if you're going to be working these stitches next, you can see it's bumpy, so you know that you're going to be purling. The purl stitch. Have fun!